There. Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live broadcast. Currently, there's me, Rachel, and Jason Schaefer, who will be talking about our March Madness brackets and how the contest is going so far. Unfortunately, Chuck is traveling, and oh, Yuri. Oh, yay, Yuri's here. Okay, welcome, Yuri. Yeah, okay, so thanks everyone for participating and for hopefully some of you filled out some brackets. Thanks for voting. We've had like thousands of people voting for this, which really just blew my mind. And I'm impressed with all the enthusiasm and with, yeah, just people getting the conversation going about positive things happening in their towns. It's really exciting. And I hope you guys enjoyed reading all about this. So we're about to come to the end of the first phase of this contest, but you better stay tuned for the next couple weeks because we will have further challenges and things for these towns to compete in so we can eventually determine the strongest within a couple of weeks. Jason, are you a little busy right now, or would you like to talk about your brackets?
Sure, I can talk a little bit. I just was posting some. I don't know why it's having me as Chuck Marone. I think it's because I signed in from our main site, but I in the comments section here, in the chat section, I should say, I posted a couple just kind of common troubleshooting things. The main thing is refresh your browser if you're having any buffering issues, and then sometimes Internet Explorer doesn't work super well for this. So if you're having any issues with that, try Chrome or Firefox. Anyway, just some housekeeping stuff. Yeah, I tell you, some of these were really tough. Like I still haven't decided on Truckee and Pasadena, and I think I'm not.
Yeah.
I noticed, that was our last one we entered, and there's still some people deciding on that. Did either of you guys have a choice on that one?
Well, I was just going to comment that I definitely, the states where we were able to pair up two cities in the same state, I think that was Florida, New Jersey, and California, which that was kind of cool to be able to do that, but that made it extra hard for me because, I don't know, you see like a lot of the similarities between those places. You know that they like maybe sort of have the same backbone, so it's a bit more challenging to decide. What did I have? I put Pasadena up there, but a tough choice. Honestly, all of these were a pretty tough choice.
They are. Oh, Yuri.
I also, I put Pasadena as well, but again...
Maybe we're biased because we just went there on a staff trip. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's actually the only town that out of all of them that I've officially actually stepped foot in. I've been in the metro areas of these places, but never actually in, so that kind of biased. I also found, though, on seeding places from the same state, it worked well in terms of kind of the state rivalry, but it was also made it really tough in terms of overall seeding because some of my favorites are going head-to-head in this round and not. So a lot of my favorites are going to be out by today.
Yeah.
I found that issue as well. Yeah, so which I guess is that happens with March Madness all the time as well. So I suppose it's to be expected.
Yeah. Let me just throw the current bracket up there right now if I can figure out how to do the screen sharing thing. Okay. Is everyone seeing the bracket? So we have some...
No.
No? Darn it.
So you can see it.
All right.
I was going to say, too, if anybody has any questions, there's a little chat icon on your feed, on your screen, and then there's also a question mark icon, and either of those will let you ask questions or chat, because we definitely don't want this to just be us talking. Hopefully we'll get some feedback from folks that are watching and
yeah. Cool. Jason, do you want to talk any more about your bracket? You want to show us your bracket?
I don't have it really placed out anywhere. I will say I have it on a piece of paper now I write in because I keep changing it. So, yeah, another one I'm undecided on is Holland and Fargo. That one's down the road for me. So, and that one brings up an interesting point, and I'd be interested in what others think about this. So, Fargo's just down the road for me, about an hour down the road. So I used to live there, so I know Fargo pretty well. And Fargo's, hopefully I don't offend any Fargo listeners here, but I think that most of them would agree. Fargo's kind of a tale of two cities. The downtown is dense, it's walkable, it's bikeable, there's bike share, there's great public transit. You can easily live in downtown Fargo without a car. There's a lot of amenities. It's growing. Fiscally, it's very strong. The value per acre is very good. It's got a lot going for it, and their priorities are really in the right order in a lot of ways. The rest of Fargo, once you get outside the downtown core and the campus and sort of those pre-World War II neighborhoods, it gets pretty rough in some parts. And they, Fargo had most of its growth in the 90s and the 2000s, kind of the height of, probably the least, maybe sustainable sort of suburban style development. So it's almost a tale of two cities, which makes it a little hard for me. It's like if I'm voting for the downtown, it's really easy, but I'm voting for the city as a whole. But then again, the other thing is they're having a great conversation there. They're talking about things like density per acre, and how they're going to grow and how they can do more infill in the mainstream media. It's on the TV, it's in the newspaper. So it's really a community-wide conversation they're having, and we talk about that as a big part of our mission, is changing the conversation, and that's happening there, to their credit. So I don't know. I'm torn on that one. That's another one I'm undecided on. Any thoughts though from others as far as if you've got a community where it's like the core is really good, but then the rest isn't, like how because it's the community as a whole in a way. Like how do you decipher that or work through that?
Is my face the main face showing up here? How do I get that away?
Oh, I'll do that. Sorry.
Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, I also kind of felt the same, that when I was looking at some of these states, I was thinking more of like the metro area, and it's hard to think about the whole city. Especially since one of the questions asked about the downtown, I felt like that was like the main picture I was getting, between asking about the transportation system and the downtown. Yeah, I'm just looking over my list now. Any other thoughts, Jason, about your bracket? Who do you have going to the final?
I have Hoboken, and I don't know on the other side yet.
Okay. I also have Hoboken, but we'll see. I hear that later during this presentation you're going to share what the standings are currently, so we'll see if we're right on that one. There seemed like a pretty strong contingent from Collingswood.
Definitely, yeah. Collingswood is winning on the voting right now. We can go over that later.
No. Okay. Yuri, who do you have going to the final two?
So, yeah, let's see if I can share my bracket here. Let's see. Do I need this one? Will this work?
Mine said screen share was disabled.
Mine's allowing it. Do you see this?
Yeah. Oh.
So I did fill out the entire bracket, and I actually did this before voting even started, and because I hadn't been to any of these cities, I actually did, when we were reviewing and the staff was reviewing the entrants in the first round before we even selected them, I just kind of ranked them all myself, and this is what I came up with. So it's a little controversial, I guess. And this is one of the examples where Hoboken and Collingswood are meeting each other in the first round, and they were my first two overall seeds for the entire thing. So if they had been on opposite sides of the bracket, they probably would have met in the final. But yeah. I'm going with Collingswood. And what was actually even more surprising is on the other side, having Safety Harbor from Florida up there. Again, I had no. This is purely numbers and purely what I received from the what I read into the applications and submissions. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting exercise. I am 100% convinced that I'll be 99% wrong.
Yeah.
But I just found it an interesting exercise, which has as much to do with the people who submitted and what they submitted and how they view the communities. And that was kind of what I found interesting about this process as a whole. Trying to convince some of my friends and other places to submit entries, I just got put time after time. I heard, well, our town's not strong enough, and we're not nearly as good as another town. And as you know, you and Chuck and others have said, this isn't really about who's the perfect town. It's who's a town that has some good attributes that they're building on and who knows what their warts are and is working to address them. So I must say kudos to these 16 for making the finals, and kudos to all the applications for even getting up and submitting one. So I think that's the first step of a strong town, is having citizens that care enough about to put themselves out there. So, but yeah, I mean, I would say I have probably about I have another bracket here that says about. Let me take it off my screen share. How do I do this now? Okay, there we go. I'm back. Yes, I have another bracket here that, you know, I look at my overall rankings, and there's kind of a top, I would say, 5 or 6 clustering, and then a bottom, you know, middle 5 or 6, and then kind of the you know, the remainder are all really tight. So it will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the aspect of the applicants versus just the town on its own, because certainly, I mean, some applications were just like out of this world awesome, and everyone put in a really good effort, but some just really stood out, and they're not necessarily from places that you'd automatically think in your mind like, oh, this is an amazing town. I definitely noticed comments, especially on the Florida cities, a couple comments on Facebook and stuff like, how can you say that these like Florida, you know, sprawling, auto-dependent places are strong towns? And I'm like, well, these applicants made a compelling case for why they are. You know, just because they have a lot of cars doesn't mean they also don't have other multimodal options, other good things going for them. So, like you said, not the perfect towns perhaps, but towns that are working on it and clearly have some enthusiastic residents and strong towns members who know how to talk up their place, and know how to like stress the good things that are happening, which I think we could all stand to do a little bit more of, certainly.
That also ties in a little bit on the strong citizens aspect too, because this is a online vote and a social media vote. It has a lot to do with the applicants in the towns and the you know, like, and the people who are promoted on social media. Like, you know, I would say I'll give kudos to like Fort Atkinson, is, you know, the local paper ran something.
Holland, Michigan
has a lot of social media buzz going for them. So, you know, it's also the community that gets behind them too. So even though, like, one of the comments I saw, there was something like the 2 towns, there was an 80 or 9, like one town was nearly twice the size as the other, and they're saying that has an unfair advantage. And well, in sheer numbers, sure, but if you can get, you know, I guarantee that the winners of these will be decided by dozens of votes, not hundreds or thousands of votes. So if you can get your friends and colleagues and families out to vote for you, and, you know, use social media, use your community connections well, you will, any town has a chance of winning, no matter how big or small you are.
Yeah, definitely. What did you guys find to be the most compelling question on our application questions? What question were you most drawn to when you're analyzing whether a town is strongest, or were you guys all like perfectly even looking at every answer?
I thought the incremental project was a good one, and how people are actively involved in their decision making. You know, because You know, that's one of the things I think a lot of people were hesitant to submit their town because, you know, we talk a lot about sort of, you know, the challenges our cities face from, you know, over a half century of, you know, suburban style autocentric development patterns. And so a lot of people, I think, feel, oh, you know, my city's not ready. And so I think, you know, a lot of this is not necessarily, are you there yet? I mean, nobody is. So it's a matter of, you know, do you have the building blocks in place to get there? And a big part of that is that engagement, that community engagement, and, you know, people being able to participate. So I thought that was a really good question. I'm glad we.
Cool. Yuri, do you have any thoughts about the most interesting question for you to read?
Yeah, again, I tried to balance all the questions and score them all equally, but in terms of what was most interesting and had kind of the biggest variation and usually put people, you know, was the make or break question, tended to be the public engagement one, and that's partially because of my background in public engagement and public consultation, but it's also, I think, where the biggest difference was in a lot of them and what's at side. Like, everyone on most towns these days are like mandated to do some sort of engagement. So some communities said, you know, we have an open house here, or we do this here, or we have citizen committees, and that's great. And those are, you know, that's important. But for me, that was just kind of the bare minimum was what I was expecting. To be a strong town, I think you have to go over and above what the town does and actually see what's happening in the communities and the citizens and kind of the grassroots activism that's taking place, because that's ultimately what will make a town strong over a lifetime. So, and again, I was also interested to see, and this is more from a strong towns kind of geek background, is, you know, Jason mentioned the incremental projects, and I thought that was an interesting question. And again, what people thought of as incremental kind of very dramatically. So, you know, you still had a lot of master plan and small scale, but still overall plan incremental developments. And then you also had some grassroots kind of almost guerrilla or tactile urbanism development, which I found kind of interesting. So, yeah, it was, again, this sheer variety of things that are going on, and again, the sheer variety of people who are passionate about their communities in different ways really goes to, I mean, I think that was what I learned most about reading all these applications, is there's no one thing that makes a town strong. It's a combination of a lot of factors.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I actually found myself drawn to different questions than you guys. I was really interested in the question, how has your town handled a recent challenge? And I was surprised because I don't know what I thought people would answer, but I was surprised that a lot of towns answered about like recent natural disasters and how like flooding or tornadoes or hurricanes and how like everyone in the town came together to address that issue. I found those answers were really interesting. And others were less like big deal things, but more just like, how do we sort through this like budget shortfall or something. But yeah, I think that's indicative when you hear how people are addressing challenges and like the way that they go about that. I was also interested to just hear about people's transportation systems, and yeah, some people clearly, even though they acknowledge like, okay, we have a lot of roads, we have a pretty auto-oriented place, like they're still like, okay, but we have this many miles of bike lanes and park trails, and you know, we have a couple bus lines or like a dial-a-ride program for the elderly and things. Like all those small things add up. Even if you don't have, you know, a light rail system or something huge like that, you can still put together a decent transportation system for a smaller town. So those answers especially impressed me, when people had a robust transportation system in place. Yeah.
One of the interesting things, I'm just reviewing some of the submissions, and the fact that we had 2 submissions from one town and comparing them, and I mean, and that actually, you know, it was interesting because they answered in some of the questions completely different, from completely different perspectives and completely different strengths, and it was kind of it was interesting to see how, again, people who care about the communities can view their strengths in completely different ways.
Yeah, that was San Marcos, Texas two like totally different groups applied. So I just combined their answers and asked them to work together for if they make it to future phases of the competition. Yeah, that was cool.
But like, on the adapting to a challenge, one group did mention the national disaster and 2 major floods in 5 months, and the other one mentioned their fast growth rate and adapting and connecting with growth. And both are major challenges in completely different ways. But it was it was just fascinating to see again how people view and what they view as their strengths.
Yeah.
And encouraging them to work together was a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also reviewing some of these over here. I was a little disappointed, I'll be honest, with the last question. I think a lot of people treated that as a throwaway question. What's your favorite thing about your town? A lot of people were just like, oh, the people here are so great. So, yeah, I was a little disappointed with that, and I'm hoping that the applicants in the next phases of the competition will be able to answer that one a little bit better, because I think that says a lot. This is something that Grayson Johnson, one of our contributors, has written about a lot. Like, if you love your place and if you have things that you care about in it and you have pride for your place, even if it has problems, like, you're going to be more motivated to improve it. And clearly everybody who applied for this competition loves their place and has pride for their place. But I'm hoping the next phase of the competition is going to be some photographs that we'll ask each town to submit. So I'm hoping that people will kind of show their favorite places in their town and why those make their town strong in that next phase of the competition.
Can you talk about that, Rachel? Can you talk about the next phases, and then maybe I'll go over the results?
Yeah, sure. So on Friday morning, afternoon, we'll announce the Elite 8 who are going on to the next phase based on your votes. And then next week, early next week, we will publish photos that will have each of those towns submit, about 3 to 5 photos, and I will ask them to write a couple sentences about those photographs, and yeah, just asking them to showcase good, strong things going on in their towns. I'm going to leave it kind of open-ended, and yeah, we'll get to just look at pictures of these towns, get to know them a little bit better, and then we'll have, again, more voting. So that'll be the next phase, and then the third phase will be podcasts. So that should be fun. It's moving pretty quickly, so over the next couple weeks, we'll find our winner for sure. Yeah,
Right.
Jason, what's the current standings here?
Okay, I'm going to start with, we've got a nail biter on our hands here, which is kind of exciting.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Fort Atkinson versus Hopkins.
Whoa. And I have to tell you, I got an email from a guy a couple days ago who said, oh, that's such a funny matchup, because I think he said, my hometown is Fort Atkinson and my wife's hometown is Hopkins or something, so like we're just facing off over this. Yeah.
Funny.
Hopkins was really interesting to me because I'm from Minnesota, but I grew up in Minneapolis, and to be honest, like, I didn't really go to the suburbs that much, so I always just thought of Hopkins as like, oh, just another, sprawling, auto-oriented suburb. But it was cool to read their application, and I have been there a couple of times, and yeah, they do have a cool downtown. Now that it like jogs my memory, it seems like they've got a lot of good stuff going on. So
yeah, I've actually been there because I've had some friends that have moved there over the years. And,
okay.
They liked it that it's got the close access to Minneapolis, but a little bit cheaper rent, and but good transit. So kind of interesting.
Schools and all that.
Up there, yeah. So the score there is Fort Atkinson is ahead right now by 1 vote. 380.
Oh my gosh. Okay, everyone, if you haven't voted on that one, get on there. Or if you're from those places, definitely get your friends to vote.
And then Holland versus Fargo is
Okay.
Fargo's winning to 230. I'm echoing there.
Yes.
Yes. I'll type these in the yeah. And then Collingswood versus Hoboken. Collingswood is winning 417 to 216. So Collingswood
Oh, damn.
lead on Hoboken.
Wow. Okay.
Carlisle, Pennsylvania versus Annapolis, Maryland. Carlisle is winning 193 to 43.
Yes. Okay, I predicted that one right.
So here's an interesting one. Hayes versus Sandusky.
Okay.
Hayes is behind. It's 96 for Hayes and 342 for Sandusky. So
Whoa. Okay. This is interesting because I'm not gonna lie, like Strong Towns has a soft spot for Hayes because we've done some work there. We've had, I believe, the mayor of, or the city manager, I think, of Hayes on the podcast before. Hayes is a really cool place, but we're not gonna be biased here.
I would say that's one of the cases where having a strong social media campaign is helping Sandusky quite a bit. They've been very active on Twitter in particular promoting, and on Facebook promoting their town, getting their followers and residents up to vote. So if you have a soft spot for any town, I mean, Strong Town staff, we're impartial, but if you're listening, feel free to campaign for your favorite towns and cities.
Yeah.
We encourage it. So Hoboken's pulling up I'm just checking our Twitter feed, and Hoboken's pulling up a last-minute rally here to try to counter.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's been interesting to follow it on social media.
Cool.
And then for Pasadena versus Truckee, we don't have a lot of results there yet. That was the last one we posted, and
right.
So we don't have a lot there. It's 7-9 right now. Truckee.
Okay.
So pretty early there. Safety Harbor, Florida, the two Floridas, Safety Harbor and West Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Safety Harbor is leading 199 to 79.
Oh, okay. I have them ahead on my bracket, so.
I did see that.
All right.
Both good entries. I was impressed. I hadn't really heard much about Safety Harbor, so I liked reading their submission. Let me put it this way: I got done reading, and I was thinking, I gotta go there. Because I felt that about all these.
Yeah, for real. And we've had some Strong Towns members contact us, especially one awesome lady who was biking across the country with her family, who specifically asked, like, give me a list of these towns because we'll try to stop in some of them as we're biking through. And yeah, certainly I encourage you guys to do that. I know I'm going to be curious to check out some of these places if I'm ever in the area. Yeah.
And then last one is Boulder and San Marcos. And San Marcos is ahead 707 to 73.
Oh, wow.
They had the two spots. That has something to do with it, but yeah.
So, wow, Boulder. All right. Gotta catch up there.
Yeah.
Wait,
Boulder.
Jason, what was the Fargo versus Holland status?
Oh, did I miss that one? It is 308 for Fargo versus 231 for Holland.
Okay, so that could still, we'll see, that could still change, but I know we have a strong Fargo contingent of Strong Towns members, so.
Yeah, but I know there's a lot of community spirit in Holland. I mean, you can tell by their application and what they wrote. So I could see Holland rallying too. Both really good submissions, I thought. That's one of the ones I was saying earlier. I'm pretty undecided on that one still, so we'll have to see.
You're not gonna choose Fargo, Jason?
I don't know. I don't want to be a total homer. I want to be objective here. So.
Wait, can you explain what is the relationship between Grand Forks and Fargo? Are they like basically the same town? Is it like St. Paul and Minneapolis?
No, they're a good hour apart, and
they each have
school. So Fargo has North Dakota State University, and Grand Forks has University of North Dakota. So actually, there's a really big
rivalry.
Although us younger generation, we don't really care as much. We work with Fargo all the time, but I think a lot of the older generation still they can't get off the football field. I prefer to leave the rivalry on the football field and work.
Yeah.
There's a lot that the communities can learn from each other, and we do a lot of tours and working together, which really helps.
So do you guys have any number one favorites out of all of these towns after reading the applications? I mean, not to be throwing too much bias in there, but
You know, to be honest, my top two, and they were kind of overall tied, and I was as surprised as anyone on both of these because, you know, I tend to be a very urban, Northwest kind of guy, but I had Safety Harbor and Collingswood as my top two.
Okay. Cool.
Are you talking about what were our surprises? Is that what you're asking?
No, I was saying, what are your favorites?
Oh,
You can talk about surprises too.
okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's hard. I definitely found like some of the people on the first half of the first side of the bracket resonated with me a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Some of my favorites were Hoboken, Hopkins, Boulder, and Hayes. Boulder, I've been there, so maybe I'm biased that way. I don't know. I've visited there a few times, so I don't know. I hate picking like saying what my favorites are though, because I don't want to sound like I'm biased or anything. I find these all really compelling.
Yeah, I agree. And even the towns that didn't quite make it to the Sweet 16, like everyone's applications were really awesome, and I'm sure these are all incredibly strong towns. We will definitely try to do this competition next year and expect even more applicants and even more good conversation. So a couple people have asked about that. Yes, I think we will try to do it next year.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm still typing in results into the chat section here, and then I did want to relay a question that came. Well, it was more of a comment that came in from Andy Walker. He just said, you know, he thinks the contest is a great concept to garner interest, and you know, hopes that we PR on this and the contestants and of course the winners. So, thank you, Andy. I agree. I think it's good to get the conversation started, and I think we've maybe brought some new people to Strong Towns that you know maybe hadn't checked us out before. So I think it's been helpful in that regard as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen some comments. We just had City Lab write about this contest this morning, and I definitely noticed some comments like, "Oh, well, why isn't such and such town on this list? Like, this list is just faulty if it's missing that town." And I'm like, "Well, you know, it was just based on who applied, so we can't control that. But hopefully, as the momentum grows next year, we'll be able to get even more applicants and a wider swath." But I thought it was good. Like, we had a balance north, south, east, west, a little bit of each. I was kind of sad nobody from Canada applied, but that's your fault.
Very disappointed no one from Canada applied, and actually no one other than we at the West Coast, but we didn't have. Well, I guess Boulder, but no one from the Northwest or the Southwest. No one from Arizona or New Mexico, which I think have a lot of problems, but they also have a lot of towns and a lot of communities doing great things. And there was also we have I don't think any from New England actually made the final cut either. So
there were some who applied, but none that made the final cut. Yeah.
We definitely have. There's a lot of regions that may be underrepresented, and what I would encourage you to do, if you think your town should have been here, or you think a town that you know should have been here, we'll be doing this next year. So start your campaign now, and start training for next year and getting things lined up, because the response has been amazing so far. Yesterday was our biggest traffic day on our site, second biggest all year, and so it's generating a lot of interest and a lot of new views and a lot of discussion, both online, both on our website itself, but also on our social media feeds. A lot of discussion on Facebook and people sharing their towns, and it just makes me happy to see people proud of where they live and proud of where they visited and proud of any town that So if nothing else, that's what I'm out of this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Do we have any questions? For some reason, I can't see the question list, but
I'm not seeing any. So
okay. If anyone has any questions, throw them out, or general thoughts. We've had some good discussion on our Slack channels, so if you guys haven't joined Slack, you should do that. There's info on our website, strongtowns.org/discussion forum, I think.
Yeah, I'll paste that link here. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we excluded our key contributors and writers from applying because I figured that they would kind of have a leg up, and I don't know. I just wanted to keep it more pure, and obviously staff weren't allowed to apply, but we did have some contributors who were able to get somebody else from their town to apply and have been campaigning pretty hard. Andrew Price, big fan of Hoboken, and he's been getting into some debates with people on Facebook and on our website comments, just putting a good word in there for Hoboken, which I gotta say, like, that's part of the reason why I have Hoboken going so far, and I hope they make it, because Andrew talks it up really well, even though he's aware of some of its issues too. But Hoboken, I don't know. I've pretty much written off New Jersey as a state that I would ever consider living in, and then Andrew talks about it so much that it seems like a pretty nice place after all.
Well, so does Collingswood. Man, that's a tough
Yeah.
that's a tough matchup. I thought that one might be a little bit closer, and I have a feeling that's going to tighten up at the end here. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But,
Well, Collingswood is another one that's been written about on our site before, by Johnny Sanfilippo.
yeah,
So can look that up.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I don't think so, and I'm not seeing any questions, so maybe we'll
That's all right.
let it go. And thanks everyone for joining us. And
Yeah, keep voting. Check it out on Friday to see the next results, and then we're back at it next week with more competition.
absolutely, I'm excited for the next rounds.
Me too. Okay, well, thanks everyone for participating and watching, and have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. All right.